Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers S Academy Bengaluru. This is topic of the day. If you search the trending news today, if you search any trending topic in TikTok, if you search any trending topic in Instagram or X.com or anywhere else, the first topic you are going to see is about the Gen Z revolution in Nepal. There was a Gen Z revolution in Nepal which resulted in the fall of government. Why there was a fall of government? You will see posts or you will see videos of Parliament House being set on fire, Prime Minister resigning from the office, the ministers of Nepal being beaten up by the youth, ministers of Nepal being burnt alive in the houses, and houses of ex-prime ministers or houses of prime ministers being raided, set on fire. All these things, visuals are being seen in Nepal, which is very concerning. But in this video, we'll discuss what led to this moment, what led to the fall of government in Nepal within the span of just for 1 or 2 weeks. We'll discuss in detail in a step-by-step manner. So, first step, rises in social media. Why social media? In social media, what started as a meme or troll about politicians of Nepal. There were posts in Nepal which started discussing about the luxurious life being led by politicians and their kids compared to the issues that are happening at the home. They started comparing politicians and their kids versus the reality of Nepal. So there was a stark contrast. There was a stark contrast that the politicians are enjoying out of their parents' money, are enjoying out of the tax money, but the real people or the real citizens of Nepal were suffering. So it started attracting or gaining traction or getting attention. So it attracted the attention of Gen Z. Who are these Gen Z? The people who were born in between 1997 to 2012 are considered as Gen Z. So they took up the movement. They started protesting. They started posting more. They started sharing the reels and TikToks more. So what was the government response? This was the second stage. The dumb Nepal. The dumb Nepal government. I should not say dumb Nepal. I should say dumb Nepal government. Why? Because the government decided to ban all the social medias. It decided to ban 26 social medias in Nepal. So stage 3. This is where the protest intensified because the social media is almost like a lifeline for the Gen Z. Lifeline for Gen Z. It is important not only for their every day-to-day activities, but also important for education, employment, and all the other aspects. E-commerce. So everything was set aside, everything was broken down. So what the people started doing is the people started protesting against social media. And what was the response of government? The second dumb move. The second dumb move from the government of Nepal was the brutal suppression. The government ordered use of rubber bullets. Government ordered use of water cannons. Government ordered the use of tear gases to suppress the protest. But in the heat of the moment, instead of the bullet or rubber bullets, the real bullets were fired, which ultimately led to more than 19 plus deaths. Next was the stage 5, the Gen Z awakening. When they saw the news of more than 19 people being dead or killed by the politicians, killed by army, so not the army but the police of Nepal, they decided to turn violent. What was supposed to be a non-violent, a funny protest against the government turned into a serious violent protest. So, what was the response of the Gen Z? They set parliament on fire. They set ex-prime minister's house on fire. They set PM Modi's house on fire. They set finance minister and beaten up the finance minister. And they set on the houses and along with the house, they set the minister on fire as well. And even set the media houses on fire, which was pro-government. So everything was on a standstill. They started setting fire on everything. Okay, they became a nihilist. That is, they wanted to bring everything to ground zero. Next, this is what happened in Nepal, and now the present context. Prime Minister has resigned, so there is a political vacuum. There is no government. So, what will be the way forward? First, we'll discuss what next for Nepal, and then we'll discuss what its implications are on India. We'll also do the comparison between Nepal and the recent revolutions that happened in the South Asia. We can see a pattern here. Okay, first is the response of the government and army. Army, that is Army Chief General Ashok Raj Sigdal, said that he appealed for restraint and urged protesters to engage in dialogue rather than taking up arms. For now, Army is to take the control of law and order, raising concerns about the future military role in the government, whether there will be elected government or whether it will be done by an authoritarian regime under the military. We have to wait and see. And out of every revolution, there emerges an important leader. And who is the important leader that is being emerged out of this revolution? It is Balendra Shah, who is the Kathmandu mayor. He was very sympathetic to protesters. He was independent and he can be the possible interim leader. And apart from him, there is Rabi Lamichane, who is the RSP leader, who was recently released from the jail, who is actually an outsider compared to the nepotism led government in Nepal. Okay, so he now is the new leader who is going to be the new leader of this revolt. The speculation is rise of outside politics challenging the mainstream politics. Apart from this, what else were the reasons behind these particular structural issues? One is the democratic fatigue. Since 2006, Nepal has seen frequent government changes, unstable coalitions, and failure of federal institutions. The rampant corruption, slow development, and poor governance and lack of employment opportunities for the Gen Z resulted in this revolution. And youth alienation, that is the large scale of youth, that is the Gen Z, sees no credible leadership. They see no future in the current leadership. Next, the anti-institutional sentiment. That is, unlike Jana Andolan movement of 1990 and 2006, current protests are leaderless, nihilistic, and anti-system. Like, who are these nihilists? Nihilists were the protesters who were found in the 1900s Russia. They wanted to fight against the government and they wanted to bring everything to ground zero. So this is what is happening in Nepal at the moment. So what is the regional and comparative context? Similar thing happened in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. In Sri Lanka, there was economic turmoil. People took to the streets. They started protesting against the government, which ultimately led to the parliament being raided and people swimming in the parliamentary swimming pool, and then people protesting against the government, which ultimately led to the fall of government, and which ultimately resulted in the rise of outsider people to the power. For example, the rise of JVP. Then Bangladesh. What happened in Bangladesh? They accused Sheikh Hasina and their government as and corrupt. They accused them of using malpractices to win the elections, and the people took to the street. It was a youth student-led student-led protest against the reservations and quota, and finally it led to the ousting of Sheikh Hasina from the government, which ultimately led to a new government but an unstable one. So there was a complete overhaul and the populist government in Sri Lanka, but instability in Bangladesh. So we can only hope that Nepal goes the Sri Lanka way, not in terms of economic turmoil, but in terms of change in government. So there should be credible government in Nepal. So this is the regional and comparative context. So what about India? What did India say? Prime Minister Modi called the violence as heart-wrenching and appealed Nepal for peace, unity, and normalcy. And Ministry of External Affairs called for neutrality and avoided taking sides, which is a smart move from the Indian government or Indian Ministry of External Affairs, considering its role in Bangladesh and how it took side of Sheikh Hasina and the subsequent hatred that caused against India in the Bangladesh. It resulted in anti-India rhetoric in Bangladesh. Next, cautious due to sensitivity of Nepal's politics, issued travel advisory to Indians in Nepal. And the Indian concerns are mainly about stability as of a key neighbor, because any wrong things happens in the neighborhood, the spillover effects are experienced by India. Preventing anti-Indian narratives, because any neighborhood, any issue happens, India becomes a target. That is what happened in Maldives. That is what happened in Bangladesh. That is what always happens in China and Pakistan. So we have to avoid this thing happening in Nepal now. avoid perception of interference in Nepal's internal politics. Okay, this should be the India's response. Next, regional and comparative context we already done, and now we will discuss the implications of this Gen Z uprising against India, for India and for Nepal and for others. Okay, so implications for Nepal in the domestic politics: erosion of trust in the government, demands for reforms, which has already happened. Now there is a need for demand for new democratically elected government. Next, social implications: heightened awareness of civil rights, brain drain, and migration pressures may increase if structural reforms fail. Economic dimension: disruption in the online based work. And apart from this, other implications are there is a political vacuum because there is a caretaker prime minister, burnt institutions, and fragmented parties at the current. Next, danger of anti systematic corruption capture. Pro-monarchy nostalgia. Before the democratic government of Nepal, there was a monarchy. So pro-monarchy nostalgia and outsider populism could destabilize democracy. Finally, the role of army. Its stance may decide if Nepal destabilizes democratically or slips into authoritarian control. Next, implication for India and South Asia. With respect to India and Nepal relations, India's careful neutrality avoids alienating any side. Instability may affect border management, trade, and security. That is why it is very important. Next, the regional pattern adds to cycle of youth-led uprisings in South Asia, seen in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and also in recent Indonesia revolts as well. So it provides alarming bells, it ringing bells in India as well. If you go and check social medias about any political videos of Nepal, under each Insta or X.com post, any post on Nepal, in the comments, we'll see lots of comments supporting the Gen Z, supporting the Gen Z of Nepal. But what is concerning is a lot many of these Gen Z people are calling for the same action in India as well. When in India, when to Indian politicians, though the idea of corruption and against Indian politicians is right, but the method that was followed by Gen Z in Nepal is not advisable in India. It could destabilize all the hard work that has been done by Indian parties over the year of 79 years, over the year of approximately 8 years since its independence. So we have to avoid this from happening in India. So India should focus on reducing the corruption, punishing the corruption, and focusing on employment generation. Okay, next, regional pattern. It adds a cycle of youth-led, and then very important thing is instability may invite Beijing's opportunistic move in Kathmandu. Beijing or China always waits for such opportunities. It did the same with Bangladesh, where it used the instability in Bangladesh to its advantage, and it is being seen in Kathmandu as now. So India should be careful that it is not seen as an interference, neither allow the opportunity for China to take the vacuum. So, what will be its implications on India and Nepal relations? It highlights the need for regional transform frameworks on internet governance and civil liberties. Cross-border youth interactions may inspire activism among impacting diplomatic discourse, and India is concerned about regional stability, digital rights, and human rights. Possible influence on Indian digital governance policies and cross-border cooperation. So India is too scared as well because India understands what will be the implications or spillover effects of this on Indian youth as well. So what should be the way forward then? These are the issues that happened in Nepal. This is the issue has been completed on. Then what should be the way forward? Should it be given to completely chaos, or what should be the way forward? That inclusive dialogue, that is between all the stakeholders, that is political class, protesters, civil society, and the army, and reforms in governance, that is anti-corruption measures, youth employment, and accountability to avoid any such movements or events in the future. Institutional role: India, United Nations, and SARC have a role to play in this regard. They have to make sure that it doesn't spill over. They have to make sure that the Nepal completely collapses. and balancing Protestant institutions. Need to transform anger into constructive democratic reform rather than institutional destruction. Okay, so this is about the Nepal war or Nepal and Gen Z revolution. I think I've covered this topic in a holistic way. If you have any suggestion for me, write it in the comment box. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss a notification for videos such like this. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.